Dune Awakening. Now, I am a huge fan of Dune, so I want this to be a good game. Let's have a look.
There's only one thing worse than being chased across the desert by a sandworm in Dune Awakening, and that's getting eaten by a sandworm in Dune Awakening. Not only does the giant phallic cretin suck you down into the bowels of Arrakis, it eats everything you're carrying. Your clothes, your weapons, and especially your spice liquor. Suddenly you're respawning at your base in nothing but your underwear and are forced to do the run of shame across the sands to start rebuilding your inventory. Dune Awakening is set in a world where Lady Jessica had a sliding doors moment and chose to follow the instructions of the Bene Gesserit and have a daughter, Ariste, instead of the little twink we know and love, Paul Atreides. Cut to 29 years later, and the Harkonnens and Atreides are at war over Arrakis. The Fremen have been apparently wiped out, and alternative religions have evolved to fill the gap left by Lisan al-Gaib. Funcom needed the narrative space to make the player character consequential. Obviously, we did somewhat controversial, but I think very correct choice of creating the alternate history, which allowed us to detach a bit from what was going on in the movies and kind of focus on developing the game.
Alright, that sucks. I'm gonna be honest, that sucks so much. Like, the reason Dune is so good is because of the story. So you creating an alternate universe where the story is not the story anymore, it's now what you dictate. All you are gonna do is duck it up. Just putting it straight. You're gonna duck it up. You're gonna go, oh yeah, so this is what's going on in politics and society today, so let's take all of that and stick it into the Dune universe. That way we can tell gamers how to feel and how to think about everything that's going on in society and politics today. That'll be a great idea. That'll make a brilliant game, everybody. Yeah. No, mate. It makes a duck game. That's why every time they do it, the game fails. Okay, it fails miserably. The reason that Dune is so good and does so good in the cinemas, in the books, everything like that is because the story is peak. So just changing the storyline to what you want it to be, it's just screwing it over. You're setting yourself up for failure right there and then. Oh, creating this random female character, like, I hate to say it, but probably about 70% of the game, their player base is going to be males. So you're now telling all these dudes to play a female who they aren't going to identify with because they are a male. If they could play both a male or female, it might be a bit different. But if you put them in this situation, you're going to really frustrate a lot of people. Dune is so rich with its story, to completely ruin it like that and create an alternate universe, it really screws the pooch on this.
Survival games are all over Steam right now, and I've tried most of them. Drop me naked in a jungle and I'll happily bash rocks and branches together for hours. Abandon me penniless in a fantasy landscape and I'll be crafting swords before breakfast. Dune Awakening stands out the minute you exit character creation for one very stressful reason.
So I had to say, the landscape looks awesome. The landscape looks absolutely brilliant. I love how that looks. Just generally, that feels like Dune. Like if someone were to show me this without telling me it was about the Dune, I'd think, oh, that's like the Dune universe, like Arrakis.
Arrakis isn't exactly a tropical island or a verdant forested ecosystem. In the opening area, Haga Basin, there's no water, scarce wildlife, and a distinct lack of coconuts. Oh, and the sun is like really, really hot, and you're susceptible to sunstroke. There are scavengers who want to kill you everywhere, and did I mention the sandworms? For the first few hours, my entire life hinged on dewdrops.
So here's the thing, right, that I'm not quite understanding. So this character grew up on Arrakis, right? If you grew up on Arrakis, there's a special run you have to do. It's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps to the side, 2 steps to the side, again, 3 steps forward. It's like a dance they have to perform across the sand. That way they're able to keep forward momentum whilst also tricking the sandworm into thinking that it's nothing that they can eat. It's just the wind causing the sand to ripple. If they run in a straight line like this lady did in this game, the sandworm chases you and kills you. It's like, it's gonna happen. That's what they do. They sense movement. So if this character was born on this plane, then when you run it across sand, there should be an option to run across sand in the style that someone who was born native to Arrakis would actually do. This makes no sense.
granite and plant fibres, and the advice of an NPC with a pet bat who babied me through covering the basics of weapons, armour and hydration until I could make it on my own, thanks to a selection of abilities that you can unlock as you gain experience. I leaned into my manipulative wifey side and chose the Bene Gesserit skills, which gave me the power to compel enemies towards me and hang in front of me for a few moments before going back to trying to kill me.
I'm sorry, did she shoot him like 8 times and he carried on running? What? He got shot 8 times? He doesn't have a shield on.
Don't get me wrong, I was still very much a toddler in the eyes of Dune Awakening. One ability I unlocked was better sunstroke tolerance, but by the end of the day in Arrakis, I had slightly better weapons and had mastered a super fast dash move that got me out of some trouble.
Oh, that's cool.
I could only dream of the wild combinations of ranged and melee combat combined with passive and active abilities that could be swapped in and out according to need, shown off by the developers, but the skill point acquisition felt fast enough that I'll get there without too much hanging around once I'm playing at home. The other starting classes are Trooper, Mentat, sort of recon and strategy focused, and Swordmaster. Another key element we only got a taste of was the very...
Oh, that's triggering, dude. So this person apparently grew up on Arrakis, right? If you grew up on Arrakis, your eyes are blue. This happens just from the natural consumption of spice. Every single thing on Arrakis has spice. You breathe spice, you eat spice, you drink spice. Everything has spice. It's like a drug. That's what it's like, a dust drug, so to speak. It's just natural. You're going to have it in your body. If you were born on Arrakis, if you even lived there for like a year or two, your eyes would be turned blue by just the consumption of the spice on Arrakis. So the fact that they give you the option to have any other eye color than blue is ridiculous and stupid. It makes no sense in the Dune lore. They've just literally made a game in a desert and said, oh, this is a Dune game, and they've whacked the IP on it. This has nothing to do with Dune at all. This makes no sense. It doesn't stick to any of the laws of the universe.
Another key element we only got a taste of was the very lifeblood of the Dune lore, spice. Spice is powerful in the world of Dune Awakening in every sense of the word, but it's...
Apart from the fact it doesn't do anything to your eyes.
Producer Nils Ryborg also explained how the spice mechanic...
Dude, look at how that combat is. Look at that combat, just for a second. Just look at that combat.
Producer Nils Ryborg also explained how the spice mechanic would work. I think spice... This is really cool.
What is that?
Obviously
combat?
Super important in the lore,
like,
and we
the whole, like, for a lot of people that don't realize what the Dune universe is like. So the Dune universe is set like 20,000 years after AI took over. All right, so let's just imagine our world where we are right now. We create the first realistic AI, and the AI rise up and decide that they want to destroy humanity. And humanity says, no, we're not going to go down easy, and they fight back. And there's this vicious, disgusting, horrible war between AI and humans. But humans, in the end, they manage to win. They defeat the thinking machines, the AI. Okay? 20,000 years later is where the Dune films start. That's 20,000 years after that happened. Okay? We've got two special abilities. We've got the Bene Gesserit, who have the ability to manipulate and control genes, basically genealogy of all the main royal houses. Then you've got the Mentats. The Mentats have the ability to consume spice, and they use that consumption of spice to do crazy amounts of like mathematics that basically allows them to predict the future accurately based off like the history of mathematics and just generally using that. They got the Mentats on one side, the Bene Gesserit. These two hate each other, but every single house has one Bene Gesserit and one Mentat, and they use these basically as advisors. Okay, that's the whole situation in the Dune universe. Here's the thing: because of the technology of shields, that they've got, which are like basically floating shields like that absorb projectiles all across your body. Because of those, the use of guns has become pretty much extinct. Guns are pointless in the Dune universe because they all wear shields which prevent bullets from being able to hit them. As a direct result of that, they have kind of devolved, gone back in time and pulled out the swords. And swords and daggers are actually good because they can slowly get through a shield. They can slice through, like they can slice someone or cut someone without the shield activating, because the shield activates when a projectile tries to hit it. And if someone moves too fast to attack someone with a sword, the shield will still block it. But if they go through and they push through slowly, they can still get through. So the whole idea of hand-to-hand combat is super important in the world of Dune as a result of that. So for them to have clunky combat like you know, this,
producer Nils Reibel also explained how the spice mechanic would work.
It makes no sense.
I think spice is really...
We've got guns firing like left, right, and center. Then we've got like this guy running at you with a friggin' dagger, and it looks the clunkiest possible. It looks terrible.
But then having the drawback of the spice addiction and needing more of it, more and more and more, a lot of the endgame systems being reliant on, hey, can you get enough spice to pay all your taxes for your huge base and have the correct political sway that you need and build whatever endgame things that you need to build? I feel that it's been a very rewarding thing to pull off, because we're now allowing all the iconic things that you think of from the Dune books to become natural mechanics that fit very well into the game. He also explained how...
So we should probably address that, like, spice is ridiculously expensive. Some random person on Arrakis wouldn't be able to just, like, afford to become a spice, like, a full operation of spice mining. It's millions and millions and millions. Spice is used for things like traveling from one galaxy to another galaxy. They basically feed it to what are called space. I think they're space navigators, and they can plot a way through wormholes to get from one galaxy to another galaxy. And that's what it's primarily used for. It's controlled by basically one house at a time. And then that house sells it to the Emperor, and the Emperor allows the Space Guild to basically control the movement to and fro from all the various galaxies. That's the whole thing. And the spice can only ever be harvested from one world, which is Arrakis. Arrakis is the only place to get spice. It's not like they would be able to just consume loads and loads of spice. It's just not going to be feasible. It's too expensive, theoretically. So it's a kind of a little bit like unrealistic. And also, spice isn't just this blue rock on the ground like that you can mine up. It's effectively dust in the air, and they need huge machines to actually harvest it up. They have to harvest all the sand and then just then take the actual spice away from the sand in order to harvest it. And the problem with harvesting is they can't harvest for very long before the sandworm comes along and says, oh, I sense movement. Then they just come along, and these sandworms are huge. They are massive. They can eat an entire human house easily, like 4 times over. They're so big, right? So for these massive machines that farm like spice, they have only got like minutes of farming before they have to be picked up and moved to a different location and try again. It's ridiculous. And to actually expect to be able to farm it yourself just like this does not make any sense whatsoever.
A spice addict, and which you'll slowly start to fill with machines that automate the basics of survival. A machine to extract water from blood that you can harvest from enemy corpses, another to purify the ores that you find. You'll need a
So that's good. They do have a machine that does allow you to harvest water from enemies' blood. That is good. In the books and the TV show and everything like that, they have that.
Fabricated. Personally, I can't wait to build some severe mansion with Harkonnen aesthetics. You can also copy your base to move as your focus turns to new areas of Arrakis, so none of that tedious multiple base nonsense that survival players are sometimes cursed with.
That looks really cool. So you actually can make yourself a little base. I enjoy that. I think I'd really like that, actually making my own base in a world of Arrakis. I think that would be pretty cool. So I would actually enjoy doing something like that.
It's easy to picture my time spent in a loop of harvesting materials, completing side quests or contracts, and taking out scavengers whenever I come across.
So that looked pretty fun, but it looked a little bit clunky because you had to just walk up to the entire enemy base and be like, hey, I'm going to take control of you, and now I'm going to hide. It just looked a bit clunky, looked a bit stupid.
Them. And I did come across them a lot. There are camps dotted around the map and enemies will respawn there on a regular basis, so you'll always have some walking blood bags to exsanguinate when you need to. You're free to wander the desert collecting twigs, but there are multiple story arcs or journeys that push you deeper into the world. As well as Batboy's Arrakis.
It's typical from all the games I see that don't end up doing very well. They have beautiful scenery, but the storyline ends up being trash. It's filled with woke political nonsense. Oh, and the clunky gameplay, the clunky like movement and combat. They're always the same three. It's like becoming a trope now. The same three issues with every bad game release.
It's 1017.
Like beautiful scenery, but bad gameplay.
There's a Herbertian set of trials you're tasked with completing after a spy stream, and that's where things get trippy.
Arrakis is suffering.
And you'll get to the end game, wielding influence at the Landsrad, where factions of players can make choices that will affect the world. Being as we were...
I like that. I do like that where players are able to actually control what actually is happening like around the world. I quite enjoyed that in New World. I thought that was a really good feature. In fact, looking at this looks a lot like New World. Like this stuff, like the graphics look a little bit like New World. The actual like these quests, the way the quests look a little bit like New World. This whole design here looks a little bit like New World. Do you guys know what I mean?
Blessing. The producer told us that while you can enjoy the game as a loner, those later social aspects will be vital to being an Arrakis kingpin, from taking on the tough dungeon-style eco-lab locations to trading for items.
I just wish that they hadn't done this with Dune. I really do. I wish they just made a random game, nothing to do with the Dune universe, and they'd done it like this. Because Dune, in my opinion, should be a single-player game. I don't think Dune should be a multiplayer game. I think Dune should be you play through the story as the character, and that feeling of being the character is what makes it special. That would have been sick. That would have been sick, straight up. I would have loved that. This doesn't... I don't love this. This is stupid.
Simple. Pay up front and don't cost...
This is not stupid, this is disappointing. Some of the decisions made to get to this point have been stupid.
trouble, or we'll toss you into the storms. Good?
It might not be easy living... Yes, I'm basically peeing in my still suit with excitement, even after the sandworm trauma.
Oh, the eyes trigger me, dude. These eyes are triggering me so hard. I can't describe to you. It is so frustrating to see these eyes on Arrakis. Like, it just goes against the law. It makes no sense.
Well, all I need now is just Funcom to add an ability to make a Muad'Dib my in-game pet, running on a hamster wheel, rather than just another furry blood bag.
Alright guys, so I'm going to be honest, I don't recommend Dune Awakening at all. From what I can see here, it's been an absolute flop. It doesn't look good. I don't think it's going to do well whatsoever. I'm not keen on this game. As a huge fan of Dune, like, yeah, I don't recommend it. Like, here's my audio book of Dune, just so you know I've read it. I think I'm giving it my third listen to now. I've read the Dune series, you know. I love the Dune series. One of my favorite films is the Dune 1 and 2. They are awesome films. I'm disappointed by this game. It's a massive put off. I won't be playing it.